new episode, and, for the foreseeable future, probably the last episode of Thrones Time, and that's because, HBO's Game of Thrones has ended. It's over. The finale has come and gone, and like most of you out there, if you're listening, you're probably not feeling as you expected you would have felt going into this season, which, again, we waited 2 years to watch. So lots of build-up, lots of time to sit there and conjure up ideas of what you thought would play out. And now it's all played out, and that's kind of what we're here to do. We're going to talk about it. What was the finale like? Did Team Thrones Time enjoy it? If so, why? If not, why? And that's just kind of what we're going to go through. And as we do, we're going to go around the horn, and each one of us is going to give our general opinion of the episode, and then we're going to hit some of the standout moments. I mean, you could argue there's kind of standout moments in every scene we got, but this, to me, guys, and I have a feeling, I can kind of sense it through the airwaves here, that you guys have the same feeling as me. But if not, I'll make sure to give my opinion on just kind of my one-sentence summary of the finale. So as we've been doing, let's just go ahead and lead with my man Keith. So Keith, I mean, how'd you process this, man? I mean, how did you come away from the Iron Throne?
A man feels nothing, and a man must drink lots of whiskey to fill the void.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Nothing hollow was probably the best way to describe my emotional response to this last episode. Just like, we've been ripping on it all season long. Yet, season 8 has had its issues, but I think we all three of us, and the collective Thrones fandom, the majority of the TV watching world has kind of harbored this secret hope that, somehow, some way in this series finale that we were all going to be really wowed and blown away. And it just, I've got nothing, man. I'm spent.
It was an insurmountable challenge for this episode. We were all foolish to even think that it could fully redeem this season and arguably the last season. I mean, honestly, guys, it's really come to a head that these shortened seasons didn't really work. I think we were able to live with season 7 because we're like, whatever. All right, whatever. There was still some really great plot progression. The pieces were moved to the edge, if you will. And it really was set up for a final season where I think all of us were expecting to be wowed. And I think the wow now comes in the form of, well, what the fuck did we just do for the past 8 seasons? I mean, that's it, huh? Okay, cool. All right, neato. So I feel you, Keith. All right, Nick, so what about you, buddy? I mean, I know, obviously, you got your one moment, so I'm sure that at least added 1 star to your overall review. But, I mean, overall, man, how did you take this one?
I kind of looked at it from the viewpoint of this episode isn't going to save the entire season. So I went into the finale knowing that I shouldn't be expecting it to try and save the whole season, just because of the way the first 5 episodes went. So I came out of the finale and I was like, okay, that was fine. I wasn't blown away. Some of the things that happened were expected. I did like how some of that stuff unfolded. But there were some decent callbacks that I kind of liked, and they skipped a whole scene again that I felt they should have included, like they've done throughout this season. But
fast forward,
but we can get into that. But yeah, it's. I mean, overall, like I said, it was fine. I was okay with it. Yeah, that's kind of it, I guess. It's not, as I've been reminded in the last 24 hours, it's not the final season or the final episode of Dexter. If you guys have watched Dexter,
of course.
Yeah, if you recall, he drove his boat into a hurricane, dumped his sister in the ocean, and then somehow swam to Canada to be a lumberjack. So
what do you think John's doing up north?
It's not at that level. Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking. But
Yeah, John's the one fell in the trees. Dexter's processing.
yeah, yeah,
No, I'm all right. So again, like I said, kind of at the top of this, kind of a one sentence deal. I mean, this is the way I summed it up to my wife when we were done watching it, as well as my buddy when he's like, "Yo, text me when you're done," because I was a little late. But I just said it was extremely anticlimactic, but probably the cleanest finish they could pull off considering how things were treated. Does that make it great? No. I mean, as Nick said, I'm kind of with Nick. It was a good episode, and like I said, it was a clean finish. It might have been almost too clean of a finish for the Game of Thrones mantra, but it was clean.
It's the sort of thing too, and someone online had said this. If this was the final episode of a 10-episode season,
of course,
we'd probably be looking at it a lot differently.
Of course, it suffered the sins of the previous episodes, if not the previous season. I mean, this episode even more so than this season even more so than 7. The fast forward reared its ugly head, and I think to all of us, at least the three of us, destroyed a lot of the plot threads that have been carefully woven throughout this journey. And Nick, I think you summed it up perfectly. If this was the end cap to a fully fleshed out season, it would have been aces. I mean, but it's trying to sum up, or it did sum up a lot of things again with those broad fast forward strokes, and it just robbed of, as Keith kind of hinted at, there is no soul to this finale. There is no emotion. Going into this season, I thought this season honestly was going to make me as ill as I felt the first time I read The Red Wedding in the books, and I didn't experience any of those feelings. I think the worst I felt all season was when Rhaegal got blasted, and that shouldn't be the case when you follow characters over damn near a decade's worth of time. So it was a bummer, but again, for a finale, for what it was trying to pull off, it is what it is. It was like all these other episodes, guys. It was entertaining, but I think we all felt cheated, robbed, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, it was like you said, it did kind of tie a lot of things, a lot more than I expected it to tie together. And I'm sure we'll get into it in some of your moments too. But coming full circle with Tyrion's discovery in the basement of the Red Keep was certainly a moment I wasn't sure we were going to get there.
Yeah, and we'll just go ahead and get into the moments, because that was one of them. I was going to kind of blow by it because from a story standpoint, it didn't really make a lot of sense for him to kind of go down there and see that, but it was nice. It was a nice moment for the character to kind of get the closure with the brother and sister. I mean, I hope he wasn't that emotional over Cersei and that was more for Jaime, because then it would have just kind of even cheapened Tyrion a bit more than he's already been cheapened, just like anyone else this season, really. But did you guys think it was odd that they made a point to show him going down there?
A little, but not really. That was, I mean, would I have preferred maybe a little bit more time on some, Tyrion beats later in the episode instead of that one? Yeah. But honestly, I mean, you made a point of saying that, it was a good character moment. We have gotten far too few of those in this season. And so it was really nice to kind of see, just let Tyrion be Tyrion for just a couple of minutes. Let him, mourn the loss of his brother. And yeah, I can't believe that he's crying over Cersei, and
I hope not.
yeah, seriously. Like I think it's just like, oh hey, I'm really sad that Jaime's here, and oh hey, my sister's dead too.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I hate to say it, I think he, some of those tears are for Cersei. I mean, we saw how much he pushed Dany to try and end things peacefully, and he used the citizens of King's Landing as the main excuse, but you could also tell he was kind of hinting because, if Cersei was in fact pregnant, then he felt that would change her for the better, and that's why he freed Jaime. That's why he tried to set up a plan for them to escape. Obviously, it didn't happen that way, but yeah, I hope all the tears are for Jaime, but I have a feeling that he still has some for Cersei, as terrible as she was to him.
That's fair.
He is a sweetie when it comes down to it. Tyrion really is a sweetheart. So you're probably right, but I'm gonna pretend that I didn't hear that.
Or it could just be he was crying because he wasn't the one to kill her. It could be that.
There you go. I like that. That's a much better spin, Nick. So thank you. You just made me smile. So the next moment I want to go into is really just, it was kind of a cheesy speech. I mean, it was very General Huxish from Force Awakens, like, fire, I'm Hitler. But the visual spectacle of Dany kind of flying in, and then I don't know if you guys caught it when she's actually walking out and the wings spread behind her to where it looks like she has sprouted the wings. I mean, if anything, that was probably the best, one of the top two shots. There's another shot I really appreciated there towards the middle. But I love that spectacle of her kind of coming in, and then obviously they had that setup of it looking like she sprouted wings.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, and it just also gave just not necessarily evil, but a kind of a sick feeling in your stomach, like, oh, this isn't going to go well. Obviously, she just burned the city, but the way the wings came up, it was perfectly aligned and everything like that. So it was cool. It was pretty on the nose, but still cool to see.
I mean, Game of Thrones has lost a lot of its subtlety, even as far as visual storytelling is concerned.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. It's a very contrived shot.
It was a pretty one.
Cool. It still looked cool.
But yeah.
I feel like if Keith could burn his HBO subscription, he would literally pour gas on it right now. Like, he's gonna catch his Roku on fire or something. So watch out. Yeah, I mean, it was outside of that. Keith's dead on. I mean, it was a very, as I said, a General Hux, a very like typical. I'm the dictator. Hoorah! I think I'm good, but I'm really just preaching about killing everybody. The Tyrion moment was nice when he kind of came up and said, "You're an idiot," and threw his hand down. But whatever, we all knew that was coming. So as Keith said last week, I mean, nothing really matters anymore. I did like in terms of moments. I liked Jon and Tyrion's talk. I thought, if anything, it showed us really how dumb Jon is, but also that deep down, as gullible as much as he wanted to believe, I think that conversation is the one that at least put him on the path to assassination. But I think ultimately, deep down, it was the scene we're going to get to ultimately when he talks to Dany, and I think she more or less hits that switch in Jon's mind that, okay, yeah, I got to do this, basically what Tyrion told me to. But it all started with Jon and Tyrion's talk.
Yeah, pretty much. It was kind of nice to get, as many interactions between those two as we, could sort of shoehorn into the episode. I don't know. As things came to a close, I was, reaching for as much, character interaction as I could, and latched onto that, and it was kind of nice.
Yeah, Jon and Tyrion always had. I mean, they didn't have a ton of interaction, but it was always good. You go back to the first season where, Tyrion and Jon are talking about their fathers, and obviously two completely different types of father figures there. But, they had that weird connection. Tyrion says all dwarfs are bastards in their father's eyes, and, kind of makes that connection with Jon before pissing off the edge of the world. But, that scene really, like you said, Matt, it really showed how stubborn Jon is. He's stuck by Dany, and then she did what she did, killing thousands and thousands of people, and he has a chance to say, no, this is enough, but it takes Tyrion to get him to realize that.
Oh, but even to Tyrion, he was still trying to justify what she did.
Right.
I mean, like I said, it's not until we're going to get in this next moment, which is a series of moments, that I think he finally knew that, okay, yeah, this has to go down.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
the little guy, and as you said, Nick, they've always had that bond. You know, at least in season 1 when Tyrion makes the journey up to the wall. I mean, they had some good conversations. So it was a nice callback to that, and really probably one of the last great dialogue character moments of the episode, unfortunately. But the next really solid one, probably the standout, was the throne room scene, and I'll call it a scene because it kind of had. It had an arc to it in and of itself. It was almost like 3 acts, and the first moment I realized was Dany walking in there. I mean, it was kind of a realization of a prophecy from season 2, but it was also a realization of her aspirations since we've known her. So it was kind of a cool moment to see. But I think what was even more curious or even more interesting was the fact that yes, she finally got there. She got the throne. But she never sat in it. Like all that murder and everything she just did, she still never completely sat down, graced the throne with herself. Because as we know, the next moment here is Jon comes in, he does the deed, kills her, and then we get in the third act here is Drogon's reaction. So guys, let's just kind of step through all this, the throne room scene, if you will.
Yeah, it was a little tough, even if you expected it, you knew it was coming. First of all, where were the Queen's guards? Where were those that were supposed to be surrounding Dany? Maybe they just assumed that Jon wouldn't do anything, even though she had her doubts about him. I don't know, but
do you think? I kind of glossed over this, but as you bring that up, do you think that it's because they knew that Drogon was protecting the entrance? And I mean, you kind of saw how Jon was able to pass. I mean, Drogon was literally laying in front of that door.
And how long had Drogon been laying there to be that covered
exactly
in ash or snow or whatever?
Is that still ash? I mean, they were almost making it look like snow because even out when they did like out in the ocean shots, it looked like it was snowing. It's like, all right, whatever.
Yeah.
Can I say, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
One little internet tidbit that I saw about that shot that made me smile today was somebody took that sequence and overlaid the Dark Souls 3 heads-up display on top of Jon walking in, and as Drogon arose, the boss music started playing, and like a health bar for Drogon appeared at the bottom. I was just like, fuck yes, Dark Souls!
Yeah.
And yeah, so sorry. Going back, I was like, okay, that was legit, that was cool.
I did note the moment down because it was just, if anything, again, visually striking. Mm-hmm. And, it reinforced that, yeah, Jon definitely has the fire blood within him.
No doubt.
Because these dragons definitely, and as I brought up, I mean, to me, and Nick kind of said, yeah, we knew it was coming, but the way it kind of went down, I mean, it was kind of poetic. I guess I wasn't expecting the Drogon reaction. I mean, it completely made sense, and I love that he did the nudge, like my human's dead, the thing. But did you guys, or am I just crazy here? His reaction, and when he just took all of that fire and brimstone to the Iron Throne, did you not feel like he was essentially acknowledging that his mother died because of her lust for this thing? And he was just like, fuck it. Or am I like crazy? Again, I'm not saying he's sitting there like he knew that Dany's main mission in life was the Iron Throne, but it's almost like it's very symbolic that he melted that thing that she wanted so badly, as if he kind of interpreted like, yeah, she lost her life because of this fucking thing.
I like that reading.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it could be weird, but that's literally what I felt when I watched it. I was like, okay, they're making a point to show him literally melting the Iron Throne.
No, I'm cool with that. That's a good way to read the shot, read the image.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it goes back to when Tyrion was talking about, I think when he was in Marine with Varys, talking about dragons before and how some say they're smarter than humans. Maybe Drogon did recognize what it was, and that was in fact, and he has a special bond with Danny, obviously. So
Yeah, I
think it's
just
totally
felt that
legit
way.
that it's
I did.
yeah.
And you could see him looking at John like, bro. But he also couldn't harm him.
Right.
He couldn't do it. And he took his wrath out on the throne. I don't know. I thought it looked cool, and there was a little bit of kind of symbolism there, a little poetry. Like, hey, I get it. I lost my mom because of this fucking thing. I'm taking it out. If anything else, that's all I can do. I'm taking it out. All right, so, and then we get like this okay, fast forward. Who knows how long, this, that, and the other thing. Tyrion looks a little scummier. Jon's beard looks a little rattier. But we just have this random parlay in the dragon pit again. I still can't figure out who the dude was sitting next to Edmure in Samwell.
I think. Sorry.
I looked it up. I think, and some folks on the internet also think that that's Howland Reed.
Oh, there he is. Okay, there he is.
I don't
Finally.
know 100%, but
hey, it sounds great. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. And then there's a couple other people up there too that I tried digging up info on, and it's just a random person, that it's nobody.
Right, because we
so
know
he's
that,
the only
Yar
one that
was there.
Yeah.
Edmure.
Robin Aaron all grown up.
Sam,
Robin Aaron, Jan Royce, the new Dornish prince.
That we don't have a name for.
Right.
Yeah.
It just doesn't matter.
But yeah, as Keith said, no, Keith, and that's again how I felt. It's like, okay, well, we just had this, and then they cut the black, and here we go. It's just like, okay.
And that's where I wish we would have seen what happened with Jon after he killed Dany and Drogon flew off. Like, does he go to somebody and say, hey, this is what happened? Or does somebody walk in and see a splotch of blood on the floor and Dany's gone? Like,
well, you're exactly right.
It's completely
Nick.
skipped over. It's frustrating.
I saw someone made the point. They're like, okay, so the Unsullied literally moments before are slitting people's throats because they were on the bad side, even though they forfeited themselves and gave up. So if they knew that Jon Snow just murdered her, would they not literally just kill the guy? I mean,
right.
As you said, and I think most people just kind of figured that Jon Snow was Jon Snow and said, hey, I killed her. But still, why didn't they just chop his head off?
Exactly.
Jon's got really good plot armor.
He's
oh man, we need a drum. We definitely have to invest into a soundboard at this point, because Keith's been dropping some gems these past few episodes. It's like bazinga, like, there you go, zingaroo. Yeah, it was weird, man. Again, it's like the whole dragon pit. I'm just sitting here like, why is no one just saying, hey, by the way, Jon's the fucking rightful guy.
Mm-hmm.
Why is he arrested? I mean, why is everyone having such a big fucking problem here? Why is everyone worried about the Unsullied as if they're like this organized house? I mean, what is going on again?
Who somehow grew. I'm pretty sure they had a lot more people in this episode than they did last
They're like
episode.
gremlins, man. They fucking multiply. You get water on them, and they just like sprouting out of their backs. You're exactly right. It's like we went from thinking them and the Dothraki were almost wiped out after the Battle of Winterfell to where they literally have more soldiers, both Dothraki and Unsullied, during Dany's speech.
My favorite was during that dragon pit scene where they're trying to compromise. Obviously, Grey Worm didn't bring Jon to the pit like he was, they were expecting him to, and they're trying to compromise with him, and they're like, "Oh, we'll give you the land on the Reach. You can start your house there." I'm like, these guys don't have dicks. Like, their house isn't going to last very long. Like,
the whole thing was weird. It's like they're literally negotiating with Unsullied.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell? But hey, welcome to the final season of Game of Thrones, my friends. So obviously the big thing to come out of that scene, guys, and I guess you could say it was a surprise. I mean, it definitely kind of surprised me a bit, but Bran is the one named the king. Hey, Bran the Broken, here we go. I mean, did you guys see that coming? Was he high up on your list?
I mean, he saw it coming.
He did. He did.
But,
right? Because Jon was exactly where he needed him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess what really just irked me about it is the fact that, like, Sansa's clearly the most fit one to be the ruler. Like, she's got the skills to pay the bills, but she's more content with just taking her northern kingdom.
I really
and
just
being
don't
done with
like
it.
Sansa anymore, by the way. I mean, Sansa just seems so angry. I mean, she almost seems like Cersei at this point. That's just me. I mean, I just that like all that just like, man, Sansa, chill. It's your bro. Like, you can't even just accept that. Like, nope, fuck everybody. Everyone else, you have to abide by the law, but not me.
Yeah, and there was
Yara got screwed because she was going to be independent with Dany as queen, but now that's not happening.
Yes, I don't know. Sansa just, even the end, like when they make her queen of the North, she just looks evil. She just looks evil to me.
she's just
I
a
don't know
hard
what it
ass.
is. Yeah, I guess so.
That's my opinion of her. I loved when she told Edmure to sit down and shut up.
Oh,
that was
great.
one of the best lines of the
Yeah,
episode.
that was a great scene. And it's like the writers did that just because they knew people like us would say, yeah, that was kind of funny. I mean, there's no reason to bring that guy back. It's just like,
yeah. Going back to Bran real quick, the only reason I had any suspicion that he would be named king is because of Vegas. I was looking at the odds for who would sit on the throne before the episode aired.
oh no,
And Bran was minus 450, which means you have to bet $450 to net $100. He's a very, very strong favorite. So I was like, oh, something leaked. Something's out there that people just know already that Bran's going to be king.
Tea leaves,
so
the Vegas leaves.
yeah, so that's the only thing that but I kept thinking and talking to my friend about, I couldn't figure out how he was going to get to that point. Because this whole time, he's not Bran anymore. He doesn't want anymore. And then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, yeah, I'll be king. I'm here. Let's do it.
No, I
Like,
agree. It was just another like, okay, this makes no sense for how this character was portrayed.
Yep.
But one thing I did think was interesting too is obviously Benioff and Weiss had met with George Martin years ago to kind of outline, very, very much outline the parts that aren't in the books or, beyond the books. But it probably means that Bran is going to sit on the throne if and when George finishes the books, would be my guess. I feel like that part of it
you
would
would
be the
think
same.
so.
Yeah.
Wasn't part of that whole thing where Weiss and Benioff had to sort of guess the ending and to, they were the ones that got it right? Or am I
think it was no. I think it was no. It was the John and Lyanna and Rhaegar.
Oh, okay, that was
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the test to see if they were worthy.
I see.
Yeah. So yeah, you were right. Your head was in the right place. So all this goes down, and then here's our poor sap John. I mean, honestly, if you really think about what happened to Jon Snow, the guy, you could argue, saved the world. I mean, he's the one that got everyone ramped up. He got Dany. He got everyone to commit to fighting the Night King. He vanquished him. Then they go down, and Dany snaps it, and he takes her out. And what does he get for it all? Well, he gets a life sentence at the Night's Watch, which is essentially you just go there to die. There's nothing to do anymore. There's nothing to really protect. So he just kind of ultimately rides out into the woods with Tormund and Ghost. But, I mean, if you think about Jon, I mean, honestly, this hero, this is the fate he got. I mean, he truly got hosed by his family, by everything. But that's Jon Snow.
Where are we in the history repeats itself? Because we have Dany who went mad, Jon kills her. We have her father who went mad, and Jaime kills her. So is Jon the better version of Jaime?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean,
you have a point.
There's
you do have a good point.
Some family loving in there.
Right. You do have a good point. I mean, you definitely could make that connection there. That he did what had to be done to save the world. And now he's paying for it. I mean, he's an outcast. Again, I mean, he's away from everybody. He's not allowed to be around his family. No family himself. No possession. And as we saw, he literally even leaves the Night's Watch. He just rolls out north with the North folk. But I mean, that's Jon Snow. I guess it was a fitting end for the character. Honestly, it wasn't developed properly, but that's season 8 of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, we saw a little bit of that foreshadow with Torm when he said goodbye to Tormund last episode. Tormund's
yeah, you were right. I mean, you
have the
definitely
North
called
it.
it.
Maybe we'll see that sort of thing. So you're like, okay, something's probably going to happen there. But
you called it even last week because I was like, I think we're never seeing that guy again. But sure enough, they made a point to do the Tormund and Ghost tour to pay off on a little fan service for Nick there, getting the rubby dubby on the dire wolf.
Yeah, I like beginning of this season. Benioff and Weiss say, "Oh, Ghost has plenty of scenes. He's prime in this season." No, he's not. Don't lie to me.
Yeah, that was a bunch of, that's literally called cost control.
Yeah, but he's back in the North. Ghost is happy. That's
hanging out, missing an ear, everything. His fur
maybe they'll run at Nymeria at some point.
There you go. Have babies and just more little Stark wolves running around. Happily fucking ever after, everybody. Welcome to Game of Thrones Season 8. So the next one here, I did like this. I like the fact that Brienne was made Lord Commander of whatever, the King's Guard, whatever that title is called. But we got to see her kind of updating, I don't know, what is it, the Book of Heroes, or essentially the
Book of Brothers, yeah.
Book of Brothers, the log of all of the members of the King's Guard. And she kind of makes a point to go in and tell the full story with very heroic accents of Sir Jaime Lannister.
So I liked this and I hated it. I liked the fact that, she wanted to do right by him. Or she maybe not she wanted to do right by him, but maybe that she wanted history to sort of look at him as more than just this piece of hot human garbage. And so that was kind of cool seeing her do that. But like, how did you guys feel about this? Did it cheapen her character at all? To sort of like her last moments, or some of her last moments in the series, are her creating like a fan blog for Jaime Lannister?
Dude, I get where you're coming with that, but I honestly, I felt like she was always so infatuated with the idea of Jaime Lannister that it still was kind of within the character of Brienne.
Sure.
I mean, she was the only one to stand up for him at the trial at Winterfell, but yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, it does kind of make her. I don't want to even say pathetic. It just shows how much she loved the guy.
Which just makes me feel bad for her.
Right? She idolized him, and kind of lost a piece of herself in doing so.
Mm-hmm.
He made her a knight, like the one thing that she wanted that nobody else gave her.
Okay.
And I think, obviously, they have an extremely complicated relationship. They have a great relationship that we've seen throughout the series. So I was okay with her putting in what she did and writing about. You could tell as she's writing, she's kind of like pauses a little bit, like, should I include this? Should I include that? But, she, from what I could see anyway, made him look good by the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Which is, I guess, to piggyback on, Jaime doing the one thing for her that she wanted. One of the few things that Jaime wanted that he couldn't get was, his section of the Book of Brothers to be filled out with heroic deeds.
You're 100% right.
And Joffrey mocks him for it at the start of season 4. And I mean, that was a nice circle back. I guess I did appreciate that.
You are right. I'm glad you kind of made that point, because if you even saw where she started writing it, it basically ended with "He is a Kingslayer." I mean, that was the last entry. I mean, you saw all these other knights had a page, 2 pages. He basically just had this little paragraph, and it was essentially "He is a Kingslayer." So that's very astute of Keith there. to make that point. But I mean, it's to be expected. He is a freaking scholar, my friends. All right, so next point. This is just a little rinky-dink shit that I like. It's just these little kind of one-offs, but we finally learned the true meaning of A Song of Ice and Fire, and it's literally just the story of everything that took place after Robert's Rebellion. It is the Game of Thrones, as we know it to be.
Minus Tyrion.
Yeah. I mean, what is it? That's just a callback that history doesn't remember short people or shit like that, or dwarves.
Something like that, yeah. And I thought it was interesting, too, that it was Archmaester Ebros that wrote it and not Sam himself, which everyone kind of expected.
Right.
But
like I said, I like little dumb shit like that. I mean, and I even kind of put in there, like, I still expect it again. And this is just from reading the books and even the first few seasons of the show, where there was kind of a lot of mysticism and magic involved. And the title kind of lends itself to that, but now we know is literally, nope, it was just literally what it is. It's the books. It's the story of everything we just watched and read.
I groaned audibly and loudly.
Yes.
I mean, that's straight Tolkien right there.
That's exactly. I'm like, oh, so we're there and back again.
Well, and there's people have made the parallels too of the Iron Throne being like the ring, and that gets destroyed in the end too. And I mean, I guess with a lot of fantasy stuff, especially as big of an influence Tolkien had, Martin even says those books were a major influence on him. He just wanted to go further with it.
Sure. Yeah, but dude, he's always about subverting your expectations of the fantasy genre, man.
Well, sure.
Yeah,
that's
why
he
doesn't.
Killed Ned in season 1.
Yeah, but in the end, the good guys basically end up pretty well off. So,
and Arya literally goes into the West.
I was gonna say.
Oh God. Okay.
I mean, so like, let's just go ahead and talk about that right now. So, I mean, last week Nick went on record saying the only thing I give a shit about, the only character I give a shit about is Arya. So, Nick.
And Ghost.
So, obviously, I think they paid off on the Ghost part. Do you feel like Arya, were you happy?
I'm happy that she's going off to do her own thing, whatever that is, which just seems like she's just going to explore. I didn't want her to become a lady with Gendry. I didn't want her to just sit around a castle with Sansa. So the adventurous aspect that she has, I was pumped for. The fact that she's like, oh, I'm gonna go where the maps end. I'm like, okay.
There's really no other way they could have taken her, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I could think of was her going back to the House of Black and White and, I don't know, becoming a teacher there or
killing everybody,
something like that. Hooking, connected back up with Jaqen. But I will say one of the most touching moments in the episode for me was when her and Jon said their goodbyes to each other, and he was like, "Hey, I'm just at the wall. Come visit me." She's like, "Nah, I'm not going north." I'm like, that sucks. But I mean, again, in my overall taste of the episode, it was fine.
Fine. Yep. Fine.
She had Needle. She had the dagger. She doesn't need much else.
Oh, they made a point of that. I mean, they definitely got their own little Stark montage, like everyone's suiting up, going, getting ready to do their thing. And I guess let's just kind of end on this moment, because some of the other ones we've already talked about here. But I did like the new small council. I like that whole little scene. I like Tyrion kind of walking in, little nervous, on edge, straightening all the seats. And I like the reveal of who is on this council. I mean, you literally have Bronn as the master of coin. I mean, how ironic is that? I mean, you got obviously Davos, the master of the ships. Brienne's there because she's running the Kingsguard. And then, Samwell somehow, I guess all you got to do is steal some books and heal a guy that had grayscale, and you're already an archmaester. But I kind of liked that scene because it felt very season 1, 2, 3-ish. Game of Thrones, but it had that air of like, okay, we can kind of see where maybe the good guys are kind of in control here.
It felt a little goofy to me.
Well, yeah, when you
You
throw
know,
Bronn
as
in there, it instantly
well,
just gets goofy. But
and that's part of it too. Is like what has Bronn wanted this entire time? A castle, some women to sleep with, and gold. He got that. He got Highgarden. Why is he now back spending his time in Kingsland? Like that didn't really sit with me. Like him getting involved in politics is not something I would have expected at all. But I like that Brienne was there. Davos, obviously has been, a great advisor throughout the show, and Sam is Sam, and one of the smarter guys on the show as well. And then I did like when they wheeled Bran in, Sir Podrick Payne,
yeah,
Yeah.
the knighted
that was
pod,
a nice touch.
in his armor. I did like that. I was hoping we would get the end of Tyrion's jackal joke that he started once before in a previous episode and never finished, but they left us hanging on that one.
He did talk. What did he talk about? A jackass and a honeycomb in a brothel or something?
In a brothel,
like
something like that. Yeah, and he had started that joke before when they were in Marine, and then they started getting attacked. I think when the slavers came back, but unfortunately, not going to get the finish to that joke.
I mean, honestly, from here, I would have been fine if the show ended or the episode ended with us just seeing Bran warg into Drogon. Like at this point, I was like, all right, whatever. Let's just show us where the dragon went.
I mean, I just have a feeling he went to Valyria, or the remains of Valyria. That's the Targaryen home. That's the dragon home.
Yeah.
They said he was last seen heading east, which would be.
I just wanted to see Bran do anything, like literally anything besides just look stoic and emotionless.
Yeah,
but we didn't get it.
He's basically just a puppet, and Tyrion's the true power basically at this point now.
Pretty much, and Bran admitted as much. He's like, yeah, I get it. You don't want it, but whatever. You're gonna do a bunch of work and try to fix some stuff. So have at it, and my friends, that's Game of Thrones for you. I mean, love it or hate it, but that is how she ended. So it definitely, I think it. In a bad way, kind of subverted our expectations. I know that the show and in the books have kind of relied on its ability to subvert your expectations in a good way. I think this season kind of subverted them in a bad way. I'm still not going to say it was horrible TV. It was just disappointing based on what came before it, how it was built up, and then what we were given. The fast forward was too much. I think season 7 was able to kind of get through it okay, but it definitely caught up to itself in season 8. And you just sit there and you go like, why'd you need almost 2 years for this? I mean, why'd you need 2 years for 6 episodes that still in the end were entertaining but didn't quite pay off or have the punch that I think 90% of fans were expecting? It is what it is. And we'll have some prequels soon because clearly that's what George cares about. He doesn't care about finishing stories. He just lets 2 dudes do it for him and probably do it a little bit of disservice. But we're moving on to prequels, and we'll see if Entertainment Buddha is still around when those come out and these guys still like doing what we do. I'm sure Thrones Time will be resurrected. But for now, we bid you farewell. Thrones Time team is out. All hail Bran the Broken.